So I'm in France at the moment, and I can hear the clock tower chiming 5 p.m. So I guess we're good to go. Um, so let's get started. So just another quick introduction. I'm Nick from Digital Yacht. We're a manufacturer of hardware. We make AIS products. We make interfaces that get NMEA data into mobile applications on iPads and tablets. We make a range of sensors, navigation products, marine PCs as well. And we've teamed up with TimeZero tonight to do a webinar on basically using TZ software on digital yacht hardware to set up a new navigation system on your boat. So I hope everybody's got a screen share with me with the introduction page. I think the first thing to have a look at is how we get data from your boat's navigation system. So you've probably got instruments, AIS, GPS on your boat already into a marine navigation package, be it on an iPad or a tablet or on a PC. And then the big question really is whether you want to use a wireless type link to link your boat's NMEA system or whether you want to use a wired link with a USB connection to a PC. Obviously, with a tablet, you're limited to just using a Wi-Fi connection. They don't support a USB connection in the way that a PC does. So what a lot of people do is a mixture of product. They may have a wired connection to the boat's NMEA system for the PC, and then have a little wireless adapter for the mobile product. So you can use a tablet, smartphone, and so on. And then you also have to decide how you're connecting into the boat's NMEA system. If you have an older legacy type system using NMEA 0183. That's different from using NMEA 2000. So we do products for both types, USB and wireless, and then we also do products for NMEA 0183 and NMEA 2000. Worth bearing in mind that it's not just GPS data that you can get into the application. You can also get instrument data, AIS, speed, depth, wind, in fact, anything that's there. And with NMEA 2000, you can even get more advanced instrumentation data and so on. So let's have a look at the USB type adapters we do. First one, called iConvert, is a USB device, plugs into the USB A socket or C socket if you've got a modern machine.
Hand it to me.
And then it takes power from the NMEA 2000 backbone, so there's no need for any separate power adapter. Plug it in, away you go, and it will convert the NMEA 2000 data that's not understood by software applications typically into regular NMEA 183, so you get GPS, AIS, and so on. If you have an older NMEA 183 system, you just use this simple cable here. That can be set for either high-speed data, which typically used with AIS, at 38,400 baud, or slow speed data, 4,800 baud for instrument and GPS systems. But you have to remember that you need one adapter for each source of data, unlike NMEA 2000. So typically the USB connection on older systems would just be used for the AIS and GPS, transponder, that type of thing. If you want to use Wi-Fi, we do two products. We do a 3-input NMEA 0183 device, so you can put AIS, GPS, and instrument data. It combines all that data, so it puts it all together into one string and sends it out over the Wi-Fi link. It also allows bidirectional communication. So if you create a route or an autopilot link in TimeZero, it will send the data back, and TimeZero can then control the autopilot as well. If you've an NMEA 2000 system, then you use our Navlink product. It looks very similar. Here's an internal Wi-Fi antenna that just tees into the NMEA 2000 network. So it literally just takes seconds to install. You can even get it to join another network if you want to. So if you've got a bigger network on the boat, you can have one wireless network and then have everything on that one Wi-Fi network, internet, and also NMEA data, which is great because some of the features of TimeZero that you can download live weather. You can also share routes up to the cloud and share routes between an iPad and the PC. So we'll cover that in a minute. Many people already have AIS, and if you have on through your NMEA 183 or NMEA 2000 system, obviously that data can be shared. But if you haven't, We also make a wireless version of our transponders. This is our AIT 5000 Class B Plus transponder, so full function transponder that's got wireless connectivity as well as USB and NMEA for traditional chart plotters and so on. The other option, of course, is that you could use USB connection direct to a PC, but most people want to have the benefit of tablet navigation as well as PC, so that you'll want the AIS capability via Wi-Fi as well. So a couple of transponders, our AIT 5000 and our AIS-TX. If you look online, you'll see they've got the Wi-Fi connectivity built in. So main difference between the two, AIS-TX is value price, still a great product, but it uses Class B technology. Class B is ideal for sailboats. It's a 2-watt output AIS as opposed to 5 watts for B+. Gives you an update every 30 seconds and just has a wireless interface ready to go straight into an iPad or PC. These devices support up to 7 connections. So you can have your phone, iPad, and a PC all connected via wireless if you want to. 5000 is a little bit more advanced. It's a Class B Plus product, more suited probably to motorboats, because the faster you go, the more regular the update, which is nice. So once you start doing more than 15 knots, it outputs data more quickly. Obviously, if you're only outputting data every 30 seconds and you're doing 30 knots, that's the position is going to jump every half mile. It's also got a splitter built into it, so you can share the main VHF antenna with the VHF and the AIS, saves a bit on installation, and it's got all the different interfaces: NMEA 2000, LMA3, USB, Wi-Fi, also multiplexes data as well. So you can put data into it and it combines it all and sends it out. So if you haven't got an AIS, they're a great choice for getting AIS on board your boat. The other nice thing about TimeZero is they're part of the Furuno group. So they've made their PC application compatible with the latest generation of Furuno radars, which I can say hand on heart and a sort of unbiased way are probably the best radars in the business. If you look on any commercial ships, you'll see Furuno everywhere. It's one of the best radars in the business. And TimeZero, the PC package allows you to use the latest generation of NXT radar. If you've got an iPad-based application, there's also a Furuno radar for that. It's dedicated for that. It's called the Wi-Fi radar. It's a little tiny 20-inch radome that you can connect to the system and bring radar data onto your iPad or tablet. So another nice system. So you can have real-time radar images, and our systems support getting NMEA data and the radar information onto the app at any one time, which is nice. Perhaps what's used for hardware. Obviously, if you're using the mobile app, you're using an iPad. And there's some great new iPads that have just been released. I noticed that the new iPads that have just come out, the Pros have got a 1000 nit screen, which is hugely sunlight viewable. They're only 5mm thick as well, which is incredible. So under a quarter of an inch, in terms of thickness. So amazing new specification on those iPads, but you can actually use pretty much any iPad that you want to with the system. If you're using the PC-based product, you could use it on a laptop. The basic version of the software comes with 2 licenses, so you can install it on a laptop. What we recommend on a boat is that you put a dedicated PC onto the boat. 2 reasons, really. Firstly, you don't want the power consumption of a laptop PC. And secondly, you really want something that's bolt and braces, not going to be subject to vibration, water, and so on. My own laptop doesn't like the boat. I have to replace it every summer after it's done a little session on the boat. It gets damp and so on. Our range of Aqua PCs, they're not waterproof, but they're marinized, ready to go in. They also run directly on the boat's DC supply. So you've got no inverters or 220 volts AC to worry about. And they're super reliable, solid state machines available in either an i3 or i7 format. Typically, the cheaper i3 runs all the charting applications and things fine. It will even cope with radar. If you want to add some of the more advanced sound features and so on, then I'd recommend going for the i7. But everything will run on the lower power consuming i3, so that might be a better for a sailboat option. They've also got an Ethernet port, which allows you to connect the Fresno radar directly into it. So you've got the radar option, literally just plugs straight in. And we also do a 24-inch LCD 12-volt screen you can plug in, but obviously you're free to use any particular LCD screen you want. And that's one of the advantages, that you can choose any screen. You can go to Best Buy and pick a 32-inch curved one, or a 12-inch, super compact car type PC screen if you want to. And the PCs also support up to 3 screens. So you could have one that you put in the salon, one at the chart table. You can have a range of different things. You can have a waterproof one for outside. So up to 3 screens, all are standard. And then the interfaces can either interface wirelessly or via USB with those PCs. All these details are on our website if you want to take a look. So the next thing really to consider is, what about getting internet on board? Because one of the advantages of PC navigation, and we'll come on to that in just a sec, is that you can connect to the internet. Unlike with a chart plotter, you can use it as a device to get onto the internet on a PC, browse the web and so on. But you can also download weather, you can download charts, you can download chart updates. So one of the most important things is to be able to get your boat connected. And you can use 4G, 5G systems, Starlink. You could use Wi-Fi in the ports. So there's lots of different things there. The other thing that TimeZero offers is a cloud. So if you have both a PC-based system and a iPad-based system, you can create a route on either product and then transfer that data to and from the cloud. So you can create a route on the iPad and then share it on your PC, which is a really neat solution. So Digital Yacht also makes some internet-based products. We make a 4G, 5G router. So a bit like your household router, but on steroids. It's going to work up to about 25 miles offshore. Super fast. Our 4GX works up to 300 megabits a second. It's got a port so if you're using satellite, you can switch what we call blended internet between 4G, 5G, and also for Starlink. And most importantly, it's got a NMA 2000 interface. So you can plug in directly to the NMEA 2000 backbone. You can see just down here, there's a little NMEA 2000 connector that plugs into your backbone. And that does what the Navlink product does normally. So literally plug in and all the data will be available on the Wi-Fi network here internally, as well as internet data. So that's a great solution if you want internet on board, regardless of whether you're using Starlink and so on. This is a great router for the Starlink-based solution. So before we go on and hand over to Daniel from Noble Tech, I just wanted to cover basically whether people should look at traditional MFD-based systems, so the Raymarine, Simrad, B&G, Fruno, Garmin type packages, or whether you should look at PC. So the big advantage of a PC-based system, number one, is affordability. Typically if you buy a 24-inch color chart plotter from any of the major MFD manufacturers, that's going to be a $10,000 purchase as opposed to a $2,000 purchase using a PC. The other big advantage of PCs is that they're super flexible. Whilst TimeZero software is great for navigation, also allows you to keep up to date with anything else that comes out. So it may well be that you want TimeZero for your coastal planning and a different package for maybe intracoastal type work and so on. So it's a great balance of being able to swap out software packages and keep up to date with the latest developments. Charts as well are also typically much cheaper on a PC-based format, certainly cheaper on an iPad-based format than if you buy dedicated cartridges that go inside an MFD. But of course, an MFD is a waterproof, ruggedized marine device that can go out in the cockpit, sunlight viewable, and so on. Lots of people tend to have some sort of hybrid system where maybe you have a multifunction display that's smaller than you would like to use for planning and your main navigation, have that out in the cockpit at the helm or up on the flybridge, and then have a PC down at the chart table or a lower helm where you can do more advanced systems, have multiple screens, have lots of different applications running. And that's all possible thanks to NMEA 2000 interfacing. You can share the two devices, share the system sensors and AIS and everything else between those two things. So I think that's really a sort of summary, basically, of where you get to with both PC and multifunction type displays. My own boat, small 7-inch chart plotter outside, and then have a PC down below, iPads around the boat to use for things, all linked up together, hooked in wirelessly so that they can all share data, and that works really, really well, and is a great package. I think we'll leave questions until the end because I want to pass on to Daniel to talk about TimeZero software, and he's going to screen share some bits and pieces. So let me just quickly figure out how to do that. I'm going to make Daniel the host. So Daniel, it's all yours, and you should be good to go.
All right, thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to do a presentation that goes over a little bit about our different product offerings, and then gets into a bunch of detail on our new chart products. One of the things that we just did was launched a new cartography service after about 15 years. And there's a lot of new features, and I'm excited to share some new route planning tools. So here in the States, we're sold under the Nobletech brand name. In Europe, you may hear us under the Maxi name. Both companies are offering the same product, which is TimeZero navigation software. And we've got really kind of 5 main product offerings. So we have our TimeZero Professional. So this is larger yachts if they want to do camera integration, multiple displays, things like that. TimeZero Navigator, which is our sort of entry-level PC product, retails for $400 US. Comes with a couple of different workstations, so you can have it on a laptop and a boat PC. About 7 years ago, we started TZ iBoat, which is our iOS application. Right now, it's iOS only, so iPhones and iPads. No Android product. Hopefully that'll come in the future. And then we have a full cartography division. So in addition to the charts that we get from CMAP, we also just launched our new TZ Maps product line, and that's compatible on our iOS products, our PC product, and the new Furuno multifunction displays that are coming out this summer. And then we also do a VTS and port security product, which I'm not going to go into now, but it's just sort of give you an idea of what all we get to work on. So to start with, TimeZero Professional is our main product, like I said, and it allows you to integrate, radar and sounders and cameras and weather forecasting and things like that. And it gives you a lot of flexibility with what we can do. Software wise, really, because we're working on a PC, we get to do some really fun stuff. So this is kind of our new advanced radar display. So it allows us to kind of make our radar displays a little bit more intuitive. Weather is a really big part of what we've been doing. We were one of the first companies to do offshore weather routing back in the 80s. So for sailors, it's a lifelong product. We've been working with the Clipper Around the World team for the last 4 editions of the race, I think. And they just made a stop through Seattle about a month ago, and I got to be part of those guys. But we do weather forecasting. We have multiple different weather models depending on where you're at. And then, it allows you to integrate that weather forecast with the route that you're sailing on, or just to see what the weather's going to do along your voyage if you're on a power vessel. Sounder integration. Same thing, you can use one of the network black box sounders from Furuno. A lot of different transducer options. So if you're into fishing, it's a good tool to add to the bucket. Some new advances on TimeZero Professional for our radar workspace to do sort of a nice new simplified chart underlay feature. And then some of the really fun stuff we get into is multi-beams. So we do 3D bottom mapping, and this is actually a shot off of my own boat. I have a 60-foot sailboat here in the Pacific Northwest, and I saw the DFF 3D, which is Furuno's multi-beam, about a couple of years before I started working for this company. I was like, that's a really neat product, and the ability to actually map out anchorages in places that aren't real well charted is a pretty unique feature. So the TZ Maps project, we did this over about the last 4 years. So we know that a lot of hydrographic offices around the world are sunsetting their paper charts. In the US, the last paper chart production is going to be December of this year. And so we really had to come up with some new information, because it's not just the paper charts, but it's also the raster charts. So the digital version of the paper chart. So we know we had some work to do to get those up to snuff. And then we wanted to have a new kind of all-in-one chart product that would, be based on official E&C data. So we're going direct to hydrographic offices. And then we want to be able to add the rest of the stuff that we like to do with satellite photos and high resolution bathymetry and dynamic fishing charts. With that, we also wanted to add some new features that weren't really on the market. So we added a new community edit page. We have a new smart search page. We have some new dynamic mooring, dynamic lights. We'll do a demonstration on that. And then we had to completely start over with how we get this information to people. In the age of network connected devices with internet access, we can finally start doing real-time over-the-air updates on a low bandwidth kind of tile by tile basis. And I'll show some examples of that. So the first thing is our vector chart. So this is near our office in Portland. This is the entrance to the Columbia River. And on the top, we have a standard NOAA raster chart. And we know that our people like raster charts. From a distributor, it's a real challenge because they're just pictures, right? There's not a lot of information we can get off of them. But from a user standpoint, we know our customers, from a lot of feedback, like the look and feel of a raster chart. I grew up using paper charts, even though I work totally in a digital world now. So, it's something that we wanted to be aware of. The top image there is the traditional NOAA raster chart, and the bottom image is our new color palette, where we're actually presenting our vector chart data in the form of a raster chart. And I think this is something that's really unique. And because we invested in this sort of framework, we can do that everywhere. And so, depending on whether you want a traditional, what we call a S52 display, or the official ENC display, we have our NOAA view. We also have a sunlight readable view and a new sort of cruise color palette. We also have a color palette that mimics the Bahamas Explorer charts. So if you're in that area of the world and you like that color palette, we can apply that to any of our vector chart data. And so it allows you to, kind of mix and match. If you like the Shome color palette or the Canadian color palette, we've got those in there as well. The next thing that we wanted to do is really utilize the information that's contained within those vector charts. So this is our new dynamic light. So you'll see, we know where the vessel is. We know what the range of the light should be. So we'll show you the lights in the area that you should see while you're navigating. And, if you don't like the flashy bit, you can certainly shut that off. But it's a really interesting feature. And the first time I got to use that underway, it was pretty neat. If you're in the danger sector of a light, or if you're following a range, you'll see, a little bit better on the chart, where you're supposed to be, and that light should sync up with what you're seeing in the real world. The other thing this allowed us to do was go into what we call automatic area detection. So built into the vector chart information are no anchorage zones and cable zones and restricted areas. And so we're able to use that information on the chart to show the navigator, hey, this is a no anchorage zone because there's unexploded ordnance, or there's submarine cables, or there's environmentally critical area, and you shouldn't anchor here. And so you'll get a notification when you enter one of these zones. So what else is around you? You can take your mouse over it on the chart, click on the area, and it'll give you further information about those zones. With the new dynamic mooring feature, we're combining the terrain information that we get. So we download terrain files, so you get a 3D view of the world. Combine that with a weather forecast, and you'll start getting mooring forecasts. So taking, are we on the leeward side of an island? Are we gonna, is the storm gonna pick up in the next 12 hours? That's gonna make the anchorage uncomfortable. And that's a nice new feature as well. And then smart search. So we're able to search all of the information contained within those vector charts. Marinas, anchorages, tide stations, We've done a lot of work adding new information to marinas everywhere. So we've actually reached out to marina owners. We've scanned their PDF of what the harbor plan looks like. And so we've done a lot of work to update these. If you're in an area and you don't see a lot of information on the chart, you're able to click on a marina. You can add photos, you can add text information, you can update phone numbers, and that helps other cruisers in the area with those charts. And that's why we brought in this new community edit feature. And this allows further information instead of just commenting on an area. This allows you to make chart objects. So if there's a wreck or an obstruction, you can go in, create a new chart object, pick through a whole list of navigation safety or leisure activity information, and if a buoy is off station. And our hydrographic team is paying attention to that. But since I've been doing this presentation, we've gotten interest from CHS and from NOAA to also look at, hey, what are our users putting on the chart in terms of hazards to navigation, reefs, obstructions, things like that. And then we kind of use this like Waze. So if you're navigating in the area of one of these obstructions, you'll see that information pop up on your screen, and you'll get an alert that, hey, there's a user recently that just flagged that there's a hazard in your area, and we'll ask you to vote on it to decide, is it something that we want to tell everybody about, or is it something that isn't there. So we have some policing in there. You can also browse around the chart and look at what new stuff has been updated. And this is what it would look like if you were navigating around an obstruction that somebody had just made. So this is a really unique feature, and I think that it allows for a lot of real-time updates. I've certainly made chart corrections in our area about either mooring balls that aren't on the chart or stuff that's on the chart that's missing, and other users can comment and rate on it, so it gives a good indication of what's around. Another big feature, and this is something that we brought from our commercial fishing side, is the ability for new high resolution bathymetry and depth shading. So if you like to sport fish in the past, you need our full professional suite of software for all the bathymetry data. But now we have brought that to both our recreational PC product and to our iOS product, so TZ iBoat. The big difference between us and like Shader Relief or some of the other products is that we still run a full 3D chart engine, and so these are full kind of 3D images. So we're able to go through and customize the color palette and customize the depth shading. These are all of the same area, but it allows us to really come up with a intuitive way of looking at things and customize it for the color palette that you want to see. The other big difference is that because it's the same 3D data set, a shallow red warning in one area is going to be the same red in another area. So there's a lot of consistency between depth shading areas. We also are able to make what we call dynamic fishing charts. So we can take the underlying vector chart data and use our 3D data on the backside to make custom contour lines. And so what we actually do is we remove all of the contour lines that are embedded into the vector chart. And then we add our own contour lines and we add our own color shading to those charts. So you still get all the navigation information off the vector chart, but you get to add in all of the fishing data and not have it get confusing. Contour lines, best in the industry. We can do, like I said, color presets, and then we can get down to about 4 inches on our contour line spacing. So we really give you the power to customize these the way that you want to. With the launch of this, we have a new web page. So we have a new TZ Maps web page. We have a new online chart viewer. So if you want to take a look at these, you just create a free account at cloud.mytimezero.com, and then you can go through and you can browse anywhere that we have cartography coverage. The other thing that we've added in is a new direct purchase for TZ Maps. In the past, you could buy our software, our professional software mostly required you to buy charts through our dealer network, and now you have the option to either buy them through our dealer, but if it's a Sunday afternoon and you need to get a chart before you leave, you're able to go online, pop in your credit card, buy the chart area that you want, synchronize it across all your devices. You'll buy it for TimeZero is the PC software, and then if you have our iOS software, you'll get that automatically for free up to 5 devices. And then you can go in and click the areas that you want to keep updated. And so it'll automatically download the chart right to your device. And then anything that you select with that little green highlight is going to stay up to date. And again, this is a really unique feature. When we start looking at satellite photos and bathymetry for a whole chart area, you can get 10, 12 gigabytes of data pretty easily. Now you're able to just keep a small area up to date. And if you know you're going on a trip, you just select the boxes for that trip. They'll be up to date, and you'll get to see those updated in real time. One of the things that, just to sort of highlight this feature, so this was the Baltimore Harbor. So this is the Key Bridge accident. On the right-hand side, this is the official NOAA ENC. So this was updated. With this incident, NOAA's been doing a chart update a day for the first responders and for the commercial traffic in the area. On the left-hand side of the screen is the current TZ maps chart. Well, this is about 2 weeks ago when I did the presentation for the Coast Guard. But this is probably, if you went to that area today, clicked update on your chart, you would see that the hulk of the dolly is gone. And so we're able, in areas that are constantly changing, to push updates in a pretty fast fashion. So right now, our update schedule is once a week. So in the US, some charts are about a weekly update. In Canada, they're monthly. In some parts of Europe, they're, either bi-weekly or bi-monthly, depends on who's the issuing authority. But now we're able to, push these updates out in real time, which is a big new feature. The other two new features that we have, and one of them I'll show right now. So this is coming out here in the US in about 2 weeks' time. So this is a new marine zone forecast. So this is taking all of the text forecast alerts from NOAA and just embedding it into the back end of the software. So if you subscribe to the premium weather service, which I think is like $9 a month, you'll get access to all of this data, and you can show or hide all of these text-based zones. But even if you have it turned off and the NOAA issues a weather alert, so something that turns in that dark red or dark sort of burgundy color, it'll pop up a warning on your device and let you know that there's a severe weather alert that's just been issued. And in the tropics, we also have a separate tropics alert page because NOAA manages the all the area in the Caribbean, South America, or that sort of north coast of South America and Latin America. So all of what's shown there is managed by NOAA, and over time we'll start bringing in text-based alerting around the rest of the world where it's available. I was down in Florida for a conference. We were just talking about this, and my phone buzzes, and I kind of looked down to see what was going on, and it was there's 2 water spouts and a tornado warning. So we were able to get that information in real time, which is a nice new feature. And again, something that's really only possible when you have an internet connected device. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and we're going to switch over now to TimeZero Navigator, which is our software, and we'll have a look at some of the features, and then we'll make one more switch and we'll go into some new features here. So this is the new TimeZero Navigator version 5, released back in October. So you can see some of the new features that we're talking about here with the flashing lights. move this bar out of the way. Fully customizable. So across the top, you'll have a bunch of different tabs. So we have a navigation tab. This is what I work with when we're just underway. Planning tab. So this lets you do what I was talking about with weather forecast along a route. So you can see some of my routes here. Could look at one of the recent trips that we were planning to go to the Oregon offshore race. Right now I'm displaying, wind and then wave information. So the particles are showing wind. The blue arrows are showing wave direction and wave set. If I mouse over, I get lots of information on pressure, things like that. And if you go in, you can customize, what chart display you want to see, what additional data with weather, wind, wave information. If you like more of the traditional grid file display, you can also make custom weather presets. I can look at cloud cover and precipitation. Turn that off if I want to. So it gives you a ability to show and hide a lot of different stuff pretty easily. If we go forward or backwards in time, you'll be able to see, different spots along the trip. You can right click on it. You'll be able to show what we call the mediogram, and it'll give you information for, what the weather forecast is going to do for a particular route. We have a new trips feature that allows you to, look at, different information, sort of like a logbook. If you take any photos during the time, I happened to be running this while I was on a seaplane tour up in Alaska last week, and gives you a nice way to record some information for your trips. And then, different workspaces if you want dual navigation screens, if you want a full radar picture, if you want a nav and sounder screen, full sounder screen. So there's lots of different ways you can customize the workspaces that you're using. So that's another really unique feature. Very easy to, build different workspaces. With TimeZero Professional, you have the ability to add multiple screens and fully customize, depending on what you want to see with cameras and things like that. We're going to hit pause. Nick, if you want to answer some questions while I get set up for the next part of my demo.
Sure. So I think everybody's muted at the moment. So just if you want to raise a question, just unmute yourself and go ahead. Or maybe I have to unmute you all. I don't know.
I can see the first question chat. So for David, yeah, you can certainly mark your fishing gear. It doesn't automatically expire, but it is pretty easy to go back and delete it. We do a lot of work with commercial fishermen, and we're actually doing some work with some of the ropeless gear manufacturers. So we'll be actually doing some of that sort of gear-driven pot marking where it would expire or go away. But typically, we let the user delete that stuff once they're haul the gear back on board.
Would that work for the community feature where you can make marks to the chart? Can you put in something that you think will be gone in a day or two?
It's not really, that wasn't really the intent, but it's certainly something I can take up with our team. The community edits were more for like navigation buoys off station or permanent moorings or something that's going to persist for a while, as opposed to sort of ephemeral chart object. But that's something that's come up more recently, where we start looking at certainly on the East Coast with whale migration. We're having some conversations with NOAA about how do we display information that needs to be here for 24 hours or 48 hours and then disappear. So it's I don't have a good answer, but it's certainly something that I'll talk about with our team.
Kind of like the speed trap thing in ways, right? That it's there now and it will be gone in an hour.
Yeah. So right now, no, but that doesn't say that it's not something that we couldn't do, and it's been on my mind a couple of different times. So,
okay, thanks.
There's another question there, Daniel. What's the big difference between iPad and computer? What difference is?
So they're getting less. Originally, hey, it's just a navigation app, and then Fruno came out with their Wi-Fi radar, and so now we can integrate to a radar. And then we started doing autopilot output. And then recently, Fruno added a new Echo sounder with Wi-Fi capabilities. And so now on our iPad, we can have a radar screen, we can have a sounder, we can have autopilot control. I'm about to go set off for Race to Alaska next week, and I'm going to do the whole thing on an iPad. So there's a 700-mile voyage. I've got an Iridium Go to download weather to it. I wouldn't have done that 5 years ago. Just from my commercial background, I find I want to have more stuff. Last summer, when we were testing out stuff, I basically navigated the majority of the time on the iPad, and certainly I had my PC and my 3D bottom mapping going and testing all the other stuff. But 99% of the time I was on my iPad and was pretty comfortable with it. We predicted that TZ iBoat would probably kill our TZ Navigator product line. That hasn't happened yet, which is great. But certainly there's a lot of power contained within that within the iOS application. And if you look at what I started navigating with 20 years ago and what I can do on my smartphone, there's no question that I have access to infinitely more data with real-time chart updates, AIS target information, real-time weather forecasting, notice to mariners, cruising guides. The amount of data that's on an iPad now is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and if I just add a bit to that, I mean, I use an iPad like daily, pretty much all the time now. For now, I just find it so simple. It just works out of the box. Hook it up to the wireless link. All the data rocks in. You've got a choice between raster and vector charts at a touch of a button. You don't have to read a handbook. It just works basically. And anybody that comes on the boat, they can buy the low cost app, add it to their phone or their iPad, and also link in with it. It is really the sort of next generation of navigation. There was one more question here, which I think is important. It says, is TZ Professional required to show TZ data on multiple screens? And the answer is no. You can split screen, because it's just like a Windows application. You can split screen that.
Well, sort of.
Yeah.
Actually,
okay, you carry on.
So if you run in extended mode and you want, one screen, if you want multiple screens showing different data, then you do need TimeZero Professional. If you want to just have, let's say, a upper and lower flybridge or a Stallone and pilot house showing the same information, then you can run multiple screens with TimeZero Navigator in duplicate mode on your computer. Note that with TZ Navigator, you also get multiple copies. So you get 2 installations, so you can run it on 2 different computers at the same time. So that's sort of the trade-off between TimeZero Professional and TimeZero Navigator there. Let's see here. Raymond, yeah, so that 100%, that's exactly what I do. So I, a couple of years ago, I brought a boat from Hawaii back to Seattle, so 2,500 miles. And the first 5 days before the departure, we were looking at the weather, and I'd run multiple weather files with multiple different weather models. For that Pacific crossing, we have GFS and we have DWD Icon. In Europe, we also have the Arome and the Arpege models. And then, download the whole ocean and leave. 2 days out, kind of have an idea of whether the forecast is significantly changing or not. And then we switch to updating, sort of the maximum amount, which is about 1 megabyte over Iridium Go. And then, you're doing you're looking at what the original forecast was, and then you're looking at what's changed, and then you just update your routing, with that Iridium as you go. And that's exactly, what to do. I mean, I would click download and then go to bed. 3 hours later, when I came up for watch, if somebody hadn't tried to use the Iridium to send a text message, then yeah, I would have a new weather file.
There's another quick question there. Is Navigator touchscreen compatible? Yep, absolutely. Just like any PC app. So you can use touchscreen. The other nice thing is you can, if you like using a trackable, you can use a trackable. You want to use a mouse, you can use a mouse. You can use any type of mouse. So it's giving you all the different options there. Any type of keyboard. You get some really neat little keyboards and things now. In fact, I've even seen a really neat, it's like a BMW eye controller where you can rotate to zoom in and zoom out. And it acts as a mouse as well. It's made by a third party, but a fantastic way of moving around the chart. So it's like a multi-axis mouse, and also zoom in, zoom out, and just very intuitive to use.
Yeah.
Another question: any plan for engine module and virtual instruments with a protocol bridge?
Not yet in TZ iBoat or TZ Professional, unfortunately. We have that on the MFDs, and there's a lot of other software that does it. It's just not been our core focus on the wish list, but there's that wish list is quite long, unfortunately.
So we can help a bit there. We do some little devices that add web graphic gauges of engine data. If you've got an MEA 2000 data, you can buy what we've got called Engine Link. So you can use your browser within the PC or your browser on the iPad to view the data. And of course, then you can just switch between a browser window and a TZ window very easily. And on an iPad, you can even have windows side by side if you want to. And we've got quite a lot of stuff coming on the control and engine monitoring side of things that will run on a PC or a screen as well.
Yeah, San, I got your direct message, and I will get in touch with you after the webinar. Let's see here. Raymond, where on the East Coast are you, Raymond?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. I think that's Rhode Island.
Electronics is a good one, maybe, or
no, we're talking about wind farms. So let me share my screen here. There you go. Hopefully you can see the screen here in a second.
Oh yeah, what a mess.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, but we can show you the mess. So let me just get through Richard. No, only the DRS4W Wi-Fi radar is compatible. So on the PC side, you can use any of the Fruno network radars. On the iPad side, it's only the Fruno Wi-Fi radar. It's a bit different of a control protocol and communication protocol. So unfortunately, that is the answer there. Am I going to come to Sitka? Yes, at some point. Not on Race to Alaska, but I'll be up there at some point this year. So let's take a look at some new stuff. This is really exciting for me. So this is the new rain radar. You can see where we have coverage is a little bit lighter, and where we don't have coverage is darker. As we zoom in, the Great Pacific Northwest, as we like to call it, and you'll be able to hit play and then see exactly how wet you're going to be over the next couple of hours. So again, this is a new feature. While the text alerting is only available in the US, the rain radar is going to have global coverage. So we'll have rain radar in the Med and in Europe, obviously in parts of the Caribbean. So it's tapped into the NextRad kind of thing. So we'll turn that off. I can show you again, here's the forecast zones. So this is live, show marine forecast information. Here's your couple of weather alerts. And if I was in one of those areas, I would see a pop-up notification on my screen. All right, so hopefully this doesn't let me down on my demo program, but So this is the new route assist feature, and I had to switch over to TimeZero Professional, but this will be the same on TZ Navigator and our iPad app, as well as TimeZero Professional. So what's going to happen is you're going to click on the chart the same way you would to create a route. New route. And a new box is going to pop up here in the center of the screen where it says manual or assist mode. You'll notice that we're not going to call this auto routing. There's a whole lot of variables that go into determining where a boat should go, how deep, what are your navigation safety preferences. And I could spend 2 hours engaged in a very heady philosophical debate about these things. So I'm just going to give a quick demo on what we're going to do. So the first thing that you want to set up is going to be going into your route configuration. And we have a new route assist tool, right? So safety depth. So how shallow are you comfortable navigating over? And this is available in fathoms, feet, or meters. Strict depth compliance. If your marina is uncharted and you use strict depth compliance, it will never let you get into a marina that doesn't have good depth information. So that is why we're going to leave that guy unchecked. And then you also need to make sure that the route tool that you have here matches the route safety configuration that you have set up here, which is what depth will it turn red? So those are some things to consider. So as I mentioned, getting ready to do Race to Alaska. So we'll actually show you how that's going to work. New route. And one of the unique features is it allows us to put in waypoints. So I know that my first waypoint has to be Campbell River and Seymour Narrows. And you'll see that the route is going to calculate. And it's looking for the best way there. Make a click on the chart. We know that my next waypoint is going to be Bella Bella. And again, it's looking for the shortest distance in between 2 points. And I would say that, navigating through the Northwest up to Alaska is probably one of the trickier spots we could, test this out at. And if you are outside your coverage area, it will start to download in the background. Or at least give you the warning that you need to update your chart. So at least that's all the way to Bella Bella, which is, a couple of 100 miles. You'll see that, it's going to make some decisions that you may like. It'll certainly tell you what the shortest way to get from point A to point B is going to be. For instance, you wanted to go on a different side of an island, click on a waypoint, and you're able to drag in real time and change locations, and it's going to recalculate your entire route based on those changes. If you want to go ahead and insert another waypoint somewhere, you can do that as well. Once I insert that fixed waypoint and I move that again, it's going to force a recalculation based on that information. So we think that this is a really powerful new tool, and I've been using it for about 6 months now. Spent the whole weekend using it. I don't agree with every decision it makes, to be totally honest. But that's part of navigation, right? There's looking at what tools are available, and then making safety decisions based on what's good for you and what's good for the boat. In areas where we have preferred routes like the Intercoastal Waterway, we've added bob tracks, we've added preferred routes. And so not only will it select the shortest route, but if there's a preferred route in an area or a user preferred route, we'll be able to use those. And as you go along, you can make your own and then set them as a preferred route source. So if you have an area that's particularly tricky and you want to force the system to always use that, you'll be able to do that as well. Once that's in place, then you'll be able to just animate through and see what your trip is going to look like. The routing of questions. The router building is new to version 5. Yes, and it's only available in version 5.1, which isn't released yet. So this will come out in probably about 2 weeks' time. It's also only available to areas that have TZ Maps coverage. So a lot of that extra data for calculating all this information safely is baked into our new TZ Maps product. So you'll need to have TZ Maps for your area for the route assist to work. There's no additional module you need to purchase. So in the past, we had a routing module. That routing module is for polar weather routing. So if you're using a sailboat and you've got one of these fancy polar files that you're using to calculate sort of wind direction and things like that, but that is not needed for the auto routing or the route assist to work. The new weather route will benefit from that technology, but it's not mandatory. Is it possible to have the waypoint information? Yeah, so if you have any of this information, if you have your system connected and you're logged in, any changes you make to your route will synchronize to all of our, what we call the TimeZero ecosystem products. So TZ iBoat, TZ Navigator, TimeZero Professional, or any of the TZ Touch MFDs, starting with TZT2 version 7, TZT3, and the new TZTXL. If I go in and I rename this waypoint, right? That same route information show up, and then depending on your autopilot, you'll also see the name come over in the autopilot message. Yeah, so you just have to make you just have to make those changes. Can TZ Navigator send an image to Raymarine screens? If your Raymarine screen has an HDMI input, yes. If not, when you activate a route, you should see that route activated on your MFD, depending on what vintage of Raymarine screen you have. I think it works on the Axioms. I've seen this on some chart plotters. It works. Some chart plotters it doesn't. A lot of times chart plotters are really hesitant to take in external route information from a source that isn't theirs. I know that's definitely the case with Bruno. I know that's definitely the case with Garmin. On some of the Raymarine screens, the route synchronization, you'll see the route on the chart plotter. On the other systems, you'll see it on your autopilot, or if you have a little like 4-inch deck display, like a GMI 20 or one of the little Zeus displays, you would see it there. So. Yeah, the new route assist tool will avoid anything that's below your safety depth. So if you set it for 2 meters, it'll take you right up to 2 meters if that's the shortest point. If you set it for 5 meters, it'll take you to 5 meters. If there's a rock that's above that depth, it will avoid that. If it can't get there, if you can't make the route from here to there, it'll still make the route, but it'll show you a red section, and you'll have to look at that and make an adjustment yourself. So for folks that already have version 5, it's gonna just show up as an update when it gets pushed out. We'll do a soft release, so you'll start seeing it kind of roll out, so we don't have 40,000 people calling tech support at the same time. But we anticipate having this out in the next coming weeks in time for summer. And I'm pretty excited. It's something that we've been working on. I know it's probably our single most requested feature over the last 5 years for sure. So we're pretty happy to be able to share it with everybody.
Well, I think we're there with questions, but if anybody's got anything specific that they want to do, if you're in the UK, just email sales at, well, UK and Europe, sales at digitalyacht.co.uk. In the US, sales at digitalyachtamerica.com, and we'll get back to you straight away.